Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? Is it 1 year? Or
one eternity later.
if you've ever been stuck in a plateau or frustrated with your progress and wondering how long it actually takes to go from 25 to 15% body fat, well, it's a two-phased approach. But most men get stuck in phase one. But don't worry, I'll show you the smartest and quickest way for busy men in their 30s, 40s, and 50s to lose fat and keep it off. You won't have to skip family dinners or client lunches or go insane on a crazy strict diet. These exact methods help me compete in natural bodybuilding, and they also work for my busiest CEO clients. So now let's talk about phase one and get straight into it. Losing fat in this first phase is a bit like paying off the small, easy debts. It's manageable and you're going to see the quickest progress. But there will be a balance of fat in the next phase, which we're going to talk about next. The problem is, most men overcomplicate phase one by either trying some kind of crash diet, which is practically starving themselves, like giving up all snacks, not eating out, no sugar, no bread, no alcohol, nothing but pure healthy food, which you know is not going to be sustainable long term, or just doing a crazy amount of excessive cardio or workouts, trying to hit the gym 5 days a week after not training properly for maybe months, potentially years. So sure, you can do all that, you'll see some quick fat loss, but burning out fat fast comes at the cost of burning out quickly, meaning running out of energy, getting the cravings to binge, and getting stressed out from your lifestyle and business, skipping workouts, leading to feeling demotivated and like you just blew the whole thing up in one weekend. And the guys that push this hard do lose body fat, but often at the cost of losing muscle, which means they end up with a skinny fat looking body shape. So you would assume they are slim because their arms and legs look skinny, but they're still holding fat around the belly because their muscle mass is very low relative to their weight and their fat mass. This is a risky spot to be because it increases their metabolic risk even more, meaning if you do fall off a strict diet and you are skinny fat, you will quickly become more overweight and potentially obese with little muscle as a result of that. And this is what gets men trapped on the metabolic cycles of decline, meaning that they're losing fat quickly, losing muscle, regaining fat with less muscle. They maintain that for a while, and then the cycle happens again and again, and 10 years later, their weight's never been higher and they've never felt weaker and more unfit. Particularly for men between 35 to 45, this is super common, and the majority of the problems that I fix within my program, hence I can share these solutions with you. So this is why getting below 20% body fat is so important. And here are the steps that you need to follow. The first thing you want to do is calculate your timeline. So I've got an example here on the screen. Imagine that you're 220 pounds and you're at 25% body fat. And that means to get to 20%, you'd have to be 206.3 pounds. As a result, you would need to drop 13.7 pounds, which is the equivalent of 6.1 kilograms. This would be your first phase that we're talking about here. So if we're talking about 13.7 pounds or 6.1 kilos, the question is, well, how long is that going to take? As a rule of thumb, 1 to 2 pounds per week of body fat dropping, or I would say probably more like scale weight dropping, because it is very difficult to measure the exact body fat unless you're getting a DEXA scan every week. But if you're looking at the scale every day, which I would highly recommend, 1 to 2 pounds drop per week. How long is that going to take? Well, obviously, if it's 1 pound per week, it's 13 weeks. If it's 2 pounds, well, it's going to be about 6 to 7 weeks. So that would be your phase one time frame if you are consistent and eating the right foods and training and basically checking off all the boxes every week, even if it took you 14 to 16 weeks. Would you be sad about that? I don't think so. I think you'd still be quite happy that you achieved that goal in a very reasonable time frame. So please, whatever you do, do not rush this process. The faster you push, the more resistance is going to meet you in the middle, the more difficult it's going to become, and the habits that you establish won't build deep foundations, meaning they're going to be quite flimsy, and as soon as life gets in the way, business, family, sickness, holidays, Christmas, Easter, whatever, it's going to blow over and crumble. Take your time, a pace that you know you can sustain for at least 3 to 4 months, like I just showed you in that calculation. This leads us to the next step, which is your nutrition. The first thing you need to do is get your body into a deficit. I'll show you what I mean. So for example, if you're currently eating this much food, but you realize that there's no body fat dropping and your weight is just pretty much the same every single day, that's going to have to change a little bit. So what would need to happen is you would have to create a minor deficit of at least 550 calories. That would be a very conservative beginning to start losing body fat. So if you make that drop and you start eating here, now the body is going to be forced to use up that body fat. And then you might eventually hit a plateau. And then you go, okay, well, am I going to increase my exercise, or can I adjust my calories just a little bit more and eat here to further increase the deficit? This is very normal. Anyone who loses body fat has gone through this process. It doesn't matter what diet they did or what supplements they took, what cardio, what workout. This process is absolutely essential to lose more body fat. So this is how you would do it, is by adjusting first your calorie budget. And then once you've done this, we need to talk about protein, which is going to be the next step right now. So if you were a fitness coach or a nutritionist or a dietitian or anyone who deals in fitness and health, you would very fast see that most men are severely under eating protein. Even if they eat 3 meals a day, they might get 5 to 10 grams in the morning. They might get 10 to 20 at lunchtime, and maybe 10 to 20 at dinner time. So at a maximum, they're getting somewhere between 50 to 70 grams per day. Now, that's not necessarily bad, but it's not optimal. The optimal range, which I'm going to show you now, which has been a result of many studies done over a number of decades, and they basically combined all the studies and came up with the optimal range of protein. Now, that range is 1.6 grams to 2 grams per kilogram of lean weight. Now, you're probably wondering, what is lean weight? Well, lean weight is like the weight that you want to get to and maintain, maybe at 13% body fat or 11% body fat. Imagine, with visible abs or something like that. So here's how that would look. So for me, my lean weight is 72 kilograms. I'm sorry if you are using the imperial system, you're going to have to use Google to calculate the difference. But it's basically timesing this by 2.2, and that will give you pounds. Anyway, 72 kilos is my current weight. So if I do the math on that at 2 grams, well, it's going to be 144 grams would be my maximum intake. So if I'm eating 144, or even as low as, say, about 120, thereabouts, I'm going to be in the optimal range of protein. Now, what does that mean? Well, if I'm eating the optimal amount of protein, it's going to help me build more muscle. It's going to help me maintain muscle. It's going to increase. So the reason that this optimal range is important is because by eating between the 1.6 to the 2 grams per kilogram of lean weight, what this is going to do is help you build the most amount of muscle, provided that you are actually training correctly, which we're going to talk about. It will help you maintain the muscle that you build. It's going to increase your meal satiety, meaning that you'll feel more satisfied for longer with the meals that you eat. And as a result, eating more protein is harder to digest. It takes a little bit longer. So you're going to increase your thermic effect of food, which actually contributes to your daily metabolism by a little bit. So I'll take any bonus I can get. And if you stack all these things up, this is why you should be eating more protein. But eating protein alone will not guarantee more muscle unless you are actually training in the gym and lifting the weights you need to lift in order to build more muscle. Yeah, my drawing sucks, but I'm doing this on the fly. Strength training is obviously a non-negotiable. You simply cannot build a muscular physique doing it with body weight alone, or in some kind of pump class with 2 kilo weights. Wish we could, but we can't. That means you must lift weights at least twice a week minimum. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but I have got clients who have trained twice a week, very consistently, always progressing, and they've reshaped their whole body because of what they do in the workout. It's not about how many workouts they do, but the quality of the workouts they actually do consistent. As a result, they've built the muscle, preserved the muscle, lost the body fat, got rid of the skinny fat physique, and you wouldn't recognize them 6 to 12 months later. Starting with as little as 30 minutes per workout in 2 to 3 workouts a week, with progression will completely transform your physique in a realistic time frame. But the trick is that every workout must count. That means you're not walking into the gym and just doing what you feel like. You're not copying somebody else. You're not following your buddy's plan or your spotter's tips or advice. You're not hiring a trainer who comes up with random workouts. You're not joining some HIIT class or random CrossFit class that doesn't have a specific progression for you. And if you do follow a program where every single workout you're progressing, you will get stronger, you will get better at doing the movements, which will mean that you can progress faster and build more muscle. But bear in mind, there's always a lag. You can get strong very quickly, but it takes a while for muscle to catch up. And this is why you must take your time with it, because muscle takes a lot longer to build than it does to drop body fat. But also strength can increase really quickly, so you can be lifting reasonably heavy weights, but not necessarily have a lot of muscle there to support it. And this is why I tell all my clients, don't rush it. Just take every workout one step at a time, but never go backwards and never do the same. So if you did 10 reps last week, then make sure you do at least 11 this week. And if you can't do 11, make sure you do an extra set or an extra kilo on the bar or anything. It doesn't matter. There needs to be some form of progression. And this is why every workout I give to a client gives them specific targets right down to the exercise, the weight, the sets, and the reps, so that they know they can just open the app and go, as long as I do this, 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 and this, I've made progress. I can get it done, get out of the gym and get on with life. So to start with, here's my advice on what exercises are going to give you the best bang for buck. When I say bang for buck, what I actually mean is that you're going to get the most amount of progress in strength and in muscle in the shortest possible time for your entire body. And this is what I'm talking about. So when it comes to your gym sessions, if you can do squats and lunges, your knees and your ankle and your hips and back is okay. Start with those. If you can't do them, then you do something that is similar or as close to this as possible that feels safe and secure for you. If that means you have to use a Smith machine, if you have to use a bench to do box squats with, if you have to use a cable or a leg press or whatever, do what you can. Start where you're at and work up to it. You can start with Romanians. They're amazing for your back, your hamstrings, your glutes, your forearms, your upper back, your core. Really good strength booster for every other exercise. This is meant to go together, so Romanian deadlifts. Then I would look at some kind of pressing movements. It doesn't matter if it's dumbbells or if it's barbells, but if you want to have a strong muscular chest, there has to be a pressing movement. Flies are good, but they're not going to build a solid foundation. Then we're talking rows, some kind of pulling movement, whether it's a cable or a dumbbell or a barbell. We don't have to get fancy here. We just want to see progression. And if you can do one pull-up, that is the magic number. Because if you can do one, soon you can do two, then you can do three, and then you drop 10 pounds and you can do 5, and you drop another 10 pounds and you can do 8 to 10, and you get the idea. But you will notice I was skipping something here, and I'm talking about isolation movements, because I don't want to see guys spending 10, 15, 20 minutes keeled over and just slowly contracting one bicep at a time. You're going to be in the gym forever and sitting around. Just get the compound movements done, and you can always add more and more and more for as long as you want for the rest of your life. But first, you have to have a solid foundation, and there's just no point in just sitting there doing isolation bicep curls when you've got weak glutes, weak back, weak core, weak legs. Everything is weak. You're doing bicep curls. Please don't do this.
But Zach, what about cardio? How much cardio do I need to do to melt the fat like hot butter in a hot pan?
Just relax for a second, and let's talk about the wonderful world of cardio. A big mistake that I see a lot of men make is thinking that if they burn 100 calories, they can eat 100 calories. You can do that, but you've just neutralized the deficit you have created by burning the energy and then eating back the energy. Don't do this. This is why I tell all my clients to treat extra calorie burn, which is important, as a bonus to increase the deficit and not to eat it back. Because if you went and did a 30-minute power walk or a 30-minute jog and you burnt 200 calories, but then you ate a peanut butter sandwich, I hate to break it to you, you just spent 30 minutes to eat the peanut butter sandwich. Now, someone who isn't very intelligent might hear that and go, oh, well, I just can't ever do anything then because as soon as I eat, I'm going to regain all the fat. That's not how it works, okay? Our BMR, which is our baseline of metabolism, burns the majority of the calories that us non-athletes are going to burn in a given day. So just by laying on the ground and being alive, we're going to burn a lot of calories. So yes, you can eat food, but for the purpose of getting lean and getting from 25 to 20% body fat in phase 1, we have to maintain a deficit. So any extra calorie burn you do, any extra steps you do, please treat it as a bonus and do not go and reconsume those calories and think that you've just won it back. And be careful, because a lot of apps like MyFitnessPal and other ones will trick you and say, hey, I saw that you just burned 200 calories. You can go eat a chocolate bar. No, you can't. Put it down unless it's factored into your nutritional budget, which we talked about before when I showed you about eating now and then eating in a fat loss deficit. You saw the difference, 550 calorie deficit. As long as you're in that deficit, then you can make sure that you've factored in any little snacks like chocolates or whatever so that you're still going to lose fat while enjoying a tasty treat. So regarding your cardio, if you enjoy cardio, please do it. If you don't have time for it, don't stress about it. As I say to all my clients, the minimum effective dose is where we begin. So we want to start accumulating more movement across the entire day. It's the same rule as someone who goes and does a 30-minute jog or run has only done 30 minutes of activity if they sit down for the rest of the day. But if you go and do just 5 minutes of casual walking every hour from when you wake up, that's approximately 16 hours across the day. Times that by 5, that's 80 minutes of movement compared to the guy who just does 30. So this is the power of accumulating more movement without having this extra stress of, oh, I need to go and do 40 minutes on the treadmill, because you don't. Me, I go out for a short walk in the morning, listen to my podcast that I love, reply to some messages, check my emails, like I'm doing things while I'm getting my steps up. So it's like a multitasking thing. It's not really cardio, even though I'm clocking up some steps. And then in the afternoon, I'll do another 10-15 minutes before my workout to warm up or just to cook dinner, whatever it is. So throughout the day, we're like sprinkling little steps in. And then you get to the end of the day and you're like, wow, I hit 10,000 steps and that wasn't so hard. Versus sitting down on your ass all day and then being like, oh no, I've only done 3,000 steps. But I got to go home and cook dinner for the kids and feed the dog and then have a shower and then plan and then do a meeting and then watch my Netflix show. There's like no time there. So I want you to try and think about the little gaps in the day. Even if you have to get your phone and set a timer for 30 minutes or 60 minutes just to get up and like walk around the office, or go get a bathroom break, go get a drink and take a few sips and refill it. Get another coffee. I don't really care what you do. Just do something. And I promise you, it counts. It doesn't matter if it's not active burn. It's what matters is your total daily burn. So when it comes to cardio, I would say only do structured cardio like cycling, swimming, running, walking, rowing, whatever, man. Cross trainer, assault bike, boxing. It's all good. Only do that if you like it and if you really need to bump up those steps. And by bumping up your steps, I would say 10,000 steps is a fantastic foundation. Any less than 10,000, it makes fat loss tricky because it puts more pressure on your diet, meaning it suppresses the deficit. Whereas we want a nice wide deficit that's driven by your activity so that you can still eat a nice amount of food that's going to satisfy your body, that's going to pump up your muscles in the gym so you can keep pushing, getting stronger, building more muscle while you're dropping body fat. Keep it simple. So once you apply all these and you get from 25% down to 20%, phase 1 is done, but now you need to focus on phase 2. And this next phase isn't as easy as just cutting out little expenses like we might do with our finances. It's more like a smart investment into your body for the long term that will yield a bigger return on your investment. it requires more precision, more strategy, more focus to target those last little stubborn areas when you might actually look a little bit lean, especially around the chest and the face, shoulders and arms, but there's still those spots around the belly and the hips and the abs and obliques that need to be eliminated, getting from 20 to 15%. So let me show you how to make phase 2 happen. Warren Buffett said,
The first rule in investment is don't lose. And the second rule in investment is don't forget the first rule.
so phase 2 is kind of like investing. But the most important thing is that you never regain the body fat that you lost in phase 1 and undo all of that hard work. So think about what are all the things that could get in the way of your phase 1 journey before you progress to phase 2, which we're going to talk about now, so that you don't undo the effort you've already invested into yourself. And there are a couple of booby traps, because when guys lose that first 10 or that first 20 pounds or kilos, whatever it is, they start to get a little bit complacent. And then other people will be giving positive comments and saying, you've lost a lot of weight, you've earned yourself a party or a drink, or enjoy yourself, let your hair down, live a little, be a lazy shit, whatever. People will influence you so that you start to regress to the person they remember you as and that they want you to be, who was the overweight, unfit guy that made everyone else feel safe and happy with how they are. When you start to change, it's going to trigger people around you like crabs in the bucket, and they want to pull you down. Be aware of this, be prepared for it, and just accept it as it is, and use it as fuel to stay true to your goal to get to 15%. And these are the things that you're going to be implementing on top of the phase 1 stuff we just talked about. It's similar, but we're going to take it to the next level, starting with the time frame, which is a little bit different. So the reason the time frame is a little bit different is because once you reach 20% body fat and you've lost that initial chunk of weight, could be 10, 20, 30 pounds, whatever it is, then your body is already starting to adapt a little bit, meaning your weight has dropped, so your body is lighter, it's easier to walk around, your body's not going to burn as much energy because there's not as much weight you're carrying. You're probably a little bit fitter as well, so your heart isn't going to be working as hard throughout the day. So in general, the body has already started to adapt. As a result, that can shrink the deficit without you actually knowing. And a lot of men get stuck here and they think it's not working anymore. There's something wrong with me, my genetics, my metabolism, Now, the metabolism is the key, because the metabolism has pretty much stayed the same, and then they started dropping weight and slowly declining just a little bit. It could be as little as 50 to 100 calories less after dropping a big chunk of weight. But that could just be enough to tip someone close to their maintenance range of calories, meaning that the food they're eating is now not really causing a lot of fat loss, or at least not fast enough for you to feel like there's anything actually happening. And this is where it gets frustrating, and you feel like you're just grinding and not seeing the fruits of the effort you're putting in. This is when the tweaks are required. So we want to first set a realistic time frame for phase 2, and here's how that looks. So continuing on from the original example of the 25% at 220 pounds, if we continue this calculation from the 20% mark, which was 206, that would take us to 194.3, which is 88.3 kilos at 15% body fat. But bear in mind, this does not include any muscle gain. This is assuming that muscle stays exactly the same. Otherwise, you would have to plus, X pounds or kgs of muscle to this number here. Anyway, we're assuming that's not the case and everything for muscle is exactly the same. As a result, that would mean 12.1 pounds of fat needs to go in order to reach 15%. But this time, things are a little bit different. Here's what I'm talking about. So phase 1 can be quite simple. Like, the body fat can drop pretty well smoothly. But when phase 2 kicks in, this is when the body's adaptations start to occur. So you start to have these short, brief plateaus, if you want to call them, followed by a drop, and then it might spike again, and then kind of do this, and then it has this stepped approach. So what I'm talking about is the time between these adjustments you need to factor in. It can take a little bit longer, but as a rule of thumb, you can still stick to 1 to 2 pounds of drop per week, which is about 0.5 to 1 kilo per week if you're consistent. Now, if you had a holiday or a trip and for some reason there was a week where the weight just stayed the same, congrats, you maintained. That's actually a good thing, and you should never feel bad about maintaining your weight when life is hectic and when you're traveling or if there's events on or Christmas or whatever it is, or even if you're feeling unwell, because maintaining a leaner body weight is an achievement on its own and something that a lot of people struggle to do. So maintaining is a strategy on its own. So my point is, if you use this same math here, then yeah, you're looking at least 12 weeks. It could be as quick as 6 if you're going gun-ho at it, but again, that's going to be very extreme and pushing the boundaries. But anywhere from 12 weeks would be great. But even if it took you 14, 16, hell, even 20 weeks, oh my God, can you believe it? That's still completely fine, right? You would still be very happy. If you put two men next to each other and one lost 50 pounds in 20 weeks and one lost 50 pounds in 30 weeks, who cares? They both lost 50 pounds. The time frame doesn't really matter. It's the pace and consistency that matters. So don't get too hung up on these numbers, but I want to be realistic with you, and that's why I'm giving you this 1 to 2 pound range, because a lot of people come into these diets and they just want to see results, and it's like, bro, like nothing in life works like that that's going to last long term. If there is, please tell me, put in the comment what out there is going to see results every day and not blow up or be unsustainable or cause a problem for you somewhere else in life. I'm yet to find anything that works that way. So be patient. You will get there, I promise. Everyone who got there once thought they were never going to get there. That's not a guaranteed thought, but it's just a situation of our mentality because we haven't done the work yet. But as you do the work, you will build more trust in yourself, you will understand the process, and you will see like, oh, this is just a game, and if I play the game correctly, I'm going to get the goals, get the results, and get the body and physique that I really want to have and keep. But that's just time frame. We have to talk about nutrition because there might be some little fine tunings that you need to make throughout phase 2 to get to 15%. So of course, throughout phase 2, the calorie deficit is absolutely critical, but at this stage, a slight reduction in calorie intake might be completely necessary, completely normal, very common to overcome these metabolic adaptations that I was talking about. Because if you've gone for a couple of weeks and your weight is just bouncing around and you're not seeing yourself get any leaner at all and your body looks the same, there needs to be an adjustment to continue the progress onwards. So, for example, if you were having 2100 calories, well, you could make a very minor adjustment and test 2000 or somewhere between 1900 to 2000. Right? Very minor, just small little changes, keeping your steps and your workouts also consistent at the same time, because if you stop these, then that's going to affect the deficit as well, obviously. Now, with your protein, the range stays the same, 1.6 to 2 grams per kilo of lean weight. So that would be based on, whether it's 15% body fat or 13 or whatever it is your goal. And that would equate to 0.7 to 0.8 ounce per pounds of lean weight. So if you were eating 130 grams in week 1, you would still be eating 130 grams in phase 2, is my point. However, nutrition isn't the only thing that you can change. This is where most of my clients like to step it up a notch when they start to see that definition under their chest and the obliques and their shoulders and their arms. This is very motivating. It's inspiring, and they want to push that little bit more because they can see the effort they've put in and they don't want to undo that effort. They don't want to ruin it and go backwards. So here's where you can actually step it up a little bit by doing more steps. So for example, if you're doing 10,000 steps, aim for 11,000 steps. Don't do a massive chunk. Like if you're only getting 5,000 steps, don't try and do 18,000 and then have this crazy yo-yo spikes happening, because that's going to be exhausting and it might just jack up your appetite, making it very hard to stick to your deficit because all of a sudden you're super hungry and your legs are really sore. So I would go up in increments that is progressive. So 10,000 to 11,000, 7,000 steps to 8,000 steps. Make it consistent before you bite off more than you can actually sustain. And again, the incidental movement is the magic key here. I know a lot of people don't want to believe this, and cardio is not everything. It's all the incidental movement that you do throughout the day. So just filming this video, I'm going to burn more calories today because I keep waving my arms, I'm talking a lot, and I'm typing on the computer and I'm drawing versus just sitting here and like tapping a few buttons. So I'm burning more calories just by doing this, not a lot, but a little bit more than yesterday. So it's all the incidental movement. Find any excuse to add more. Here, take the dog for a walk, take the kids out, take them to the park. I don't know, clean the car instead of getting someone else to clean it. Hose the garden, cook dinner instead of ordering it. Park further away, take the stairs, don't take the elevator. Walk around the block on a phone call. You can figure it out. Infinite ways to get more steps in that anyone can do. And there's one thing that men will get stuck on if they don't implement this in phase 1, but most importantly, if this is missing in phase 2, the chances of you quitting and giving up is far higher. So let me explain this next step, which is very, very important for every single person I've ever coached in my 10-year career in fitness. This has been my best little friend, and it will be your best friend when you do it consistently, because all of a sudden you will regain full control of your progression and be able to diagnose exactly what's going on at any point in time. This is why I say track to adapt, because if you're not tracking, it's going to be very hard to adapt to the changes that your body is going to make in phase 2. And what this includes is tracking your steps so you can see what is going on. Was there a low period? Was there a high period? Why does my body feel sore? Why do I feel tired? You need to see what's going on here. You also need to see what is the trend with your calories. Did you have a massive calorie day? Did you have a very low calorie day? What is going on? You need to understand how many calories you're actually burning. I like calorie burn because actually it's a smooth number compared to steps. Steps can be quite volatile. Then you want to track your burn zone, which is basically the difference between your food calories and your calorie burn. So you can see, all right, what is this actual gap I need to maintain in order to lose body fat? All right, what is this? And you would only know by tracking the burn zone. Then you need to track your workouts, because if you're not tracking your workouts, well, you're just not going to progress, and you walk in the gym and be like, oh, I'll just do what I feel like and wonder why there's no results. Have to track it. It's the only way to hold yourself accountable. Otherwise, you would need to have a coach telling you what to do. Track your sleep, because this could be the exact reason why you are just energy is feeling low and your muscles aren't responding, the body's just feeling weak. It could be sleep. It's probably not going to be food for a very, very long time, if ever. When people say to me like, oh, I'm not eating enough, no, you've got enough body fat to outlive a 6-month famine. I would probably be the first person to die because I have such a low body fat. So it's rarely food is a problem with energy. It's often sleep, and I didn't put in stress, but stress is a little bit hard to track with a device. However, there are devices these days that are getting quite good at tracking these metrics. So the Oura Ring does have a stress score, I think. I don't really look at it that often, but I'm not a stressed out guy anymore. I used to be. And the most important thing is your body fat and lean muscle percentage, right? We want body fat to go down and muscle percentage to go up, and more importantly, the ratio, right? So if your ratio is increasing, like if you start off and you get a DEXA scan done and you can see that your ratio is like 2.2 of fat to muscle, and then, no, sorry, it'd be the other way around. So let's say if you're 220 pounds and you're starting off at a muscle to fat ratio of like 2.3, and then you've lost 20 pounds and that muscle to fat ratio has gone up to 2.7, that is amazing, right? That's an increase. We want more muscle, less fat, and the only way you would know is by doing some form of DEXA scan or an in-body scan. I talk about this in all my videos, so you can go watch another one and I'll explain more details on that. And this is what I call taking the scientific approach, because you're looking at things objectively and not making emotional judgments based on feeling. You can purely see the facts and go, oh, I have actually made progress, even though I don't look ripped yet, but I'm on the way. And it's seeing this one step that will give you the inspiration and the motivation and the determination and the discipline to keep going. But if you can't see the micro steps, one bad day will just completely burn the boats, and it can get very hard to get going again. But when you can see the incremental progress, it gets addictive. You want more. You want to just keep going, and you just want to see little win after little win. And you're not always going to see it physically, but you will see it in the data. Hence, you need to track it. Otherwise, you'd have no idea. And so there's a bonus talking point that I need to add that I'm going to leave you with, so that when you are in phase 2, the only thing that will throw you off track if you're doing everything I just discussed is life. And this is why you need to plan ahead as best you possibly can. And this is where the business mind starts to come in, and you start thinking and projecting ahead, like, hey, where do I want to be in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months from now? And what is it that I can do to be sustainable to get there? But most importantly, what is going to get in the way? You know, what are these brick walls that are going to pop up? What are the holidays? What are the trips? What are the celebrations? And just factoring in life, giving yourself a little bit of contingency, a bit of plan B, so that you can navigate around these walls, jump over them, duck under them, and not get too bothered when you're not seeing consistent progress every single day, because you know that life always gets in the way. And even the most ripped, jacked person you know is probably still busy, probably still has kids, and needs to go through life just like you do. So nobody is special. We just have plans, and we deploy those plans, or we don't deploy the plans and we don't have plans. So here's what you need to focus on. Plan lighter calorie days, either before a big event or after a big event, so that if you do eat more calories, you can compensate on either side. If you're traveling, try to get some short workouts in. And if you don't have a gym, just take some bands with you and do body weight with a band, so this adds extra resistance. And at the worst case, it's going to help you maintain what you have. You're not going to miss out. If it's like 1 or 2 weeks, you'll be completely fine. When you are traveling, get your steps up. If you're waiting for an Uber, don't sit down or sit in the home. Just walk laps wherever you are. I mean, wherever the Uber is going to be, but just stay on your feet and move around. If you're at the airport, don't sit in the terminal doing nothing. Walk around. If you're waiting for a train, walk up and down the platform. Any excuse to stay moving, so that you're offsetting any time sitting on a plane, train, car, boat, any hovercraft, I don't care, SpaceX rocket to the space station, whatever it is. You probably can't move much on a SpaceX ship. I don't know. You get my point. Another really helpful tip is to use Google. So if you're going to a specific hotel, Google the area and look at all the cafes, all the restaurants, all the supermarkets around, so that you know, hey, when I get there, I can go to this restaurant, here's the menu, here's what I can order. It's going to be about 600, 700, 800 calories. Want to go get some snacks, go down to the supermarket, get some snacks. You want to wake up in the morning, go have breakfast, have a coffee, whatever it is. Like, scope out the areas that you're going to, so that you know, all right, I'm not just going to show up and then be like, oh, I don't know, and just eat McDonald's. Like, put a little bit of thought into it, like 2 minutes. 2 minutes of Googling will give you a whole entire food itinerary if you just focus on it. Very easy to do. Do it with my clients all the time, and that's why they can either maintain or lose more body fat when they're on a holiday. Because what's cool about holidays is often people want to go exploring. So you've probably been on a holiday and been like, okay, I want to go here, I want to go there, I want to go to this museum, I want to look at this thing, if you're in Rome, you go around the Colosseum, you go for the Vatican, you're collecting all these steps. So it's very common. People say to me, hey, I came back from Europe and I've lost weight. I was eating pizza and gelato every day. It's because of all the steps they were doing. They were doing like double the amount of steps than what they would normally do at home. But there's one last thing I want to show you, and it's my favorite rule of thumb, and let me explain it now on the screen. Okay, no doubt that you can read, so you're probably wondering, what is the 90-10 rule? Has it got anything to do with the 80-20 rule? No, it doesn't. What it has everything to do with is your nutrition. So what I'm talking about is give yourself a 90% budget to eat clean foods, which means to hit your protein, to get your veggies, to get your, potatoes and healthy stuff that ticks the boxes, and then allow yourself 10% of whatever it is that you want to eat. If it's a little bit of chocolate, if it's a bit of fried chicken, if it's an ice cream, a cookie, candy bar, allow yourself to do that. But here's the trick. If you're going to deploy the 90-10 rule, first you need to know what is your calorie budget. So let's assume it's 2,000 in phase 2. What that means is you can apply the 90-10 rule, which just means that 1800-ish calories is going to be spent on your super lean, healthy food, proteins, chickens, yogurts, berries, all the stuff that makes us feel fantastic. And your 10% is going to be approximately 200 calories for the stuff that is, processed food. It's not perfectly healthy, whatever. It could still be something that's tasty. It's not incredibly unhealthy, like a dark chocolate type of thing, or some healthy protein bar, or some dates, whatever. You get the idea. It doesn't have to be super strict, but I love using this because ever since I started doing this, it gives me the freedom to eat foods that are considered unhealthy or junk food. And then because I know I'm allowed to eat it, I don't feel like I'm craving it. And then because I'm not craving it, I don't ever have this need or urge to go and binge a whole bag of chips or a whole block of chocolate. I'm happy just having little bits because it's always there and I know I can afford it. So this is probably one of the best things I ever did from a mindset point of view, to stick to this second phase of like getting leaner and leaner and leaner, because you do enjoy food when you are a little bit hungry. So don't be scared of being hungry. That is a sign that your body is losing more body fat. If you were never hungry ever, then you'd probably be overweight and obese because you'd be eating so much food. The body can't possibly produce enough ghrelin, which is a hormone that stimulates hunger, to offset the amount of leptin that you're getting from eating all the food. Anyway, that's a topic for another video. However, in order to plan ahead accurately and apply everything I've talked about in phase 2, you do need a solid structure that also allows flexibility. Because if you're busy and you have kids and you travel, you run a business, you're a professional, whatever it is, we're all busy these days, who isn't busy? You're going to need some kind of flexibility and adaptability, but some kind of template that you can actually stick to that's going to fit within your lifestyle and not force you to do things that just isn't going to work long term. One that allows you to eat dinners with the family, eat some tasty snacks, apply your 90-10 rule, get a reasonable amount of steps, and 2 to 3 workouts a week, no matter where you are in the world. And if you're looking for a structure to implement that will work even in the next few days to help you start shedding more body fat, my business body blueprint routine has got this all mapped out for you across 5 steps. And I've even added a video walkthrough course that you can add to the blueprint routine. To learn more about this, tap the link. It's right below this video in the description. The page will explain everything for you. And if you have any questions about it, drop it below. I'd be happy to explain more. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.